The restaurant owner looked at my torn jacket and said, "Get out before you scare my customers." I left my food on the table, my $40 wasted. 2 hours later, his phone rang. When he found out who was calling, his face went white. The powerful man on the phone had witnessed everything. And he wasn't happy. That call changed my life, destroyed the owner's career, and taught me that revenge tastes better cold. But let me tell you how a humiliating moment became the sweetest justice I've ever experienced. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm 38 years old, and I've been homeless for 18 months. I sleep in Riverside Park under a cluster of oak trees near the fountain. My home is a sleeping bag and a backpack containing everything I own. But I wasn't always like this. 5 years ago, I was executive chef at Meridian, one of the finest restaurants in the city. I had a beautiful wife named Lisa, a modern apartment downtown, respect in the culinary world. Then Lisa got cancer. Stage 4, came out of nowhere. She fought for 8 months, but the disease won. After she died, I couldn't function. The kitchen that used to be my sanctuary became my prison. Every dish reminded me of her. We'd met in culinary school. She was a pastry chef, could make sugar sculptures that looked like glass. I started drinking to numb the pain. At first, just wine after shifts, then vodka during prep, then showing up drunk. The head owner fired me after I nearly started a fire. Word spread fast in the restaurant world. Nobody would hire me. I burned through my savings on alcohol, lost the apartment, lost myself.
But I never lost my knowledge of food. Even living on the streets, I could smell a restaurant's quality from a block away. I knew which food trucks used fresh ingredients and which ones reheated frozen garbage. Sometimes I watched cooking shows on the computers at the public library, memorizing techniques I might never use again. Food was the only thing that still made sense, the only connection to who I used to be. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I did day labor at construction sites, moving materials, cleaning debris, whatever they needed. It paid $40 cash for 8 hours of backbreaking work. Most weeks I spent the money on necessities, socks, soap, a new tarp when mine ripped. But this Tuesday, something inside me cracked. I wanted to feel human again, just for one meal. I wanted to sit at a table like a normal person and eat food someone else cooked. So I kept the $40 and walked toward the restaurant district. Rose's Kitchen sat on the corner of 5th and Morrison. I'd walked past it hundreds of times. It was a small family-style place, maybe 20 tables, red checkered tablecloths visible through the windows. The menu posted outside showed reasonable prices. Pasta dishes for $12 to $15. I could afford one meal and still have money left over. I stood outside for 10 minutes, working up courage. My clothes were clean. I'd washed them at the shelter 3 days ago. My face was shaved. My hands were scrubbed. But I still looked rough. Everyone could tell what I was. Finally, I pushed open the door. A bell chimed. The restaurant smelled like garlic and tomato sauce. About half the tables were full with the late lunch crowd. A young waitress approached with menus. "Just one," I said quietly. She led me to a corner table near the kitchen. I could hear pots clanging, someone shouting orders in Spanish. I sat down and studied the menu, even though I'd already decided. Spaghetti carbonara, $12. Simple, classic, hard to mess up. The waitress came back. "What can I get you?" she asked. Her name tag said Maria. "Spaghetti carbonara and water, please," I said. She wrote it down and disappeared. I sat back and looked around. The restaurant had potential, but everything was slightly off. The lighting was too bright and fluorescent. The tables were too close together. The walls needed paint. From my seat, I could see into the kitchen through the service window. The line cook was using jarred sauce, not fresh. Cardinal sin for Italian food. But I wasn't here to critique. I was here to feel normal. Maria brought my water in a plastic cup. "Food'll be out soon," she said with a kind smile. I thanked her and sipped the water slowly, making it last. 15 minutes passed. The kitchen sounds continued. Then I heard a voice getting louder. A man's voice, angry. What the hell is this? Who sat him there? A man emerged from the kitchen. He was maybe 50, thick build, thinning black hair, tomato sauce stain on his white shirt. He walked straight toward my table. His face was red. "Are you the owner?" I asked. He ignored my question. "You need to leave," he said loudly. Other diners turned to look. "Excuse me," I said. "My food's coming." "I paid." He shook his head. "I don't care." "Look at you. You're scaring my customers. This is a family establishment. We don't serve homeless people here. Get out before I call the cops." The words hit me like fists. Every person in the restaurant was staring now. Some looked uncomfortable. Others nodded in agreement. Maria stood frozen near the kitchen with my plate of pasta in her hands. I stood up slowly. My face felt hot. "I'm a paying customer," I said quietly. "I have money. I wasn't causing any trouble." But I didn't know that someone outside had watched this entire exchange. The owner, whose name I'd later learn was Diego Martinez, stepped closer. His breath smelled like cigar smoke. "I don't want your money," he said. "Get out now or I'm calling the police." I looked at Maria. She looked down at the floor, ashamed but silent. I looked at the other diners. Nobody met my eyes. I pulled out my $40 and put it on the table. "For the food I ordered," I said, "keep the change." Then I walked toward the door with as much dignity as I could manage. Behind me I heard Diego say loudly, "Finally, some people have no shame." Laughter followed. The bell chimed as I pushed through the door back onto the street. The afternoon sun was too bright. My hands were shaking. Not from anger exactly, from humiliation, from the reminder that I wasn't human anymore. I was just a problem to be removed. I walked 2 blocks to Riverside Park and sat on a bench near the fountain. My stomach growled. I had skipped breakfast to save money, counting on that lunch. Now I had nothing. The $40 was gone. I put my head in my hands and tried not to think about how Diego's voice had carried through that restaurant, how everyone had watched me leave like garbage being taken out. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, feeling sorry for myself. Then an elderly man sat down on the other end of the bench. He was maybe 70, Asian features, expensive-looking gray suit, perfectly polished shoes. He carried a leather briefcase. He pulled out a sandwich wrapped in paper and began eating. After a moment, he glanced at me. "Rough day?" he asked conversationally. "You could say that," I replied. He nodded and continued eating. We sat in silence. I watched people walk past, mothers with strollers, business people on phones, teenagers on skateboards, normal people living normal lives. The old man finished his sandwich and pulled out an apple. He looked at me again. "Are you hungry?" he asked. I hesitated. "I'm fine," I lied. He smiled slightly. "That wasn't what I asked," he said. He held out the apple. "Please, I have another one." I looked at the apple. It was perfectly red and shiny. "Take it," he insisted. "You'd be doing me a favor." "My doctor says I eat too much." I took the apple. "Thank you," I said. My voice cracked slightly. He waved a hand. "Don't mention it." He gestured toward the restaurant district across the street. "Do you know the area well?" he asked. "I used to," I said. I bit into the apple. It was crisp and sweet, probably cost more than my usual meals. He followed my gaze. "I'm looking for restaurants," he said. "I'm an investor, trying to find a location for a new concept. High-end Italian, authentic preparations, seasonal ingredients. Any recommendations?" If you also love such mysteries, you'll understand what happened next. I almost laughed. "You're asking me for restaurant recommendations," I said. He looked at me curiously. "Why not?" he asked. "You clearly know the neighborhood." I shook my head. "I don't think I'm your target demographic, but since you asked, avoid the obvious tourist traps on Main Street. Overpriced, mediocre food, high turnover. If you want authentic Italian, you need a chef who understands the basics. Fresh pasta made daily, sauces from scratch, proper technique. Most places around here cut corners. Jarred sauces, pre-made pasta, frozen proteins." He leaned forward slightly. "You seem knowledgeable about this," he said. "Are you in the restaurant business?" "Used to be," I said carefully. "Long time ago." "What did you do?" he asked. I was a chef, I admitted. Executive chef, actually. Worked in several high-end establishments. His eyebrows raised. Really? He said. Where? I told him about Meridian, about my years climbing the culinary ladder, about studying classic French technique and Italian regional cooking. I didn't mention the drinking or the firing or the homelessness. He listened intently, asking questions about my philosophy on food, my approach to menu development. I found myself talking more than I had in months. It felt good to discuss something I cared about, to be treated like I had value. After maybe 20 minutes, he checked his watch. I should get going, he said. But this has been a fascinating conversation. He stood and extended his hand. I'm Vincent Chen, he said. I shook his hand. Marcus Chen, I said. He smiled. Chen, he repeated. Perhaps we're distant relatives. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a business card. If you're ever interested in consulting work, give me a call, he said. I'm serious about opening a new restaurant, and I could use expert input. I took the card. It was heavy stock, embossed lettering. Vincent Chen, Restaurant Development and Investment, a phone number and email below. Thank you, I said. But you should know something. I'm homeless. I just got kicked out of that restaurant over there. I pointed toward Rose's kitchen. I don't have an address or a phone. I'm probably not the consultant you're looking for. Vincent looked at the restaurant, then back at me. His expression didn't change. That restaurant, he said slowly. Rose's kitchen. I know the owner, Diego Martinez. I'm his landlord. I also invested $50,000 in that business 3 years ago. My stomach dropped. I didn't know, I said. He looked at me carefully. What happened? He asked. Why did he kick you out? I told him the whole story, how I'd saved money for one meal, how Diego had publicly humiliated me and thrown me out, how the other customers had laughed. Vincent's face hardened as I spoke. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone. Excuse me for a moment, he said. He walked a few feet away and made a call. I could hear parts of the conversation. Diego, this is Vincent Chen. We need to talk about an incident at your restaurant today. There was a pause. I don't care how busy you are, Vincent said sharply. I just spoke with a man you threw out, a paying customer you humiliated because of his appearance. Another pause. That's not acceptable, Diego. That's not how we treat people. I'm coming by in 2 hours. We're going to have a serious discussion about your business practices and whether I want to continue our partnership. He hung up and walked back to me. Anyone witnessing this moment would be breathless at what was unfolding. I stood up. You didn't have to do that, I said. Yes, I did, Vincent replied. I don't tolerate that kind of behavior, especially not from someone I'm invested in. He looked at his watch again. I have a meeting across town, but I'll be back here at 4 p.m. Will you meet me here on this bench? I want to talk more about my restaurant project, and I want you there when I confront Diego. You deserve an apology. I don't need an apology, I said. Yes, you do, he said firmly. Everyone deserves basic human dignity. Will you be here at 4? I nodded. I'll be here, I said. Good, he said. And Marcus, bring that business card. I think we're going to work together. He walked away toward a black Mercedes parked at the curb. I watched him drive off, then looked at the business card in my hand. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like me. But I was about to discover that revenge isn't always loud and immediate. The next 2 hours crawled by. I stayed on the bench, afraid to leave in case Vincent didn't find me again. I watched Rose's kitchen across the street. The lunch crowd thinned out. I saw Diego through the window, moving between tables. He had no idea what was coming. Part of me felt guilty. I didn't want to ruin someone's business, but another part of me, the part that still remembered the humiliation, wanted him to feel what I'd felt. At exactly 4 p.m., the black Mercedes pulled up. Vincent got out and walked toward me. Right on time, he said approvingly. Shall we? We crossed the street together. I felt eyes on us. My dirty jacket and his expensive suit made a strange pair. Vincent pushed open the restaurant door. The bell chimed. Diego looked up from behind the counter. His face went pale when he saw Vincent. Then he saw me behind Vincent, and his expression turned confused, then angry. "Vincent," he said loudly. "Good to see you. What brings you by?" "We need to talk," Vincent said. His tone was ice cold. "Privately." Diego's smile faltered. Of course," he said. "Let's go to my office." He led us through the restaurant toward a small back office. Other customers watched curiously. Maria, the waitress, looked at me with wide eyes. In the office, Diego gestured to 2 chairs. Vincent sat. I remained standing near the door. "So what's this about?" Diego asked nervously. Vincent gestured to me. "Do you recognize this man?" he asked. Diego glanced at me. "Sure," he said. "He was here earlier. I had to ask him to leave. He was making customers uncomfortable." Vincent's expression didn't change. "He was a paying customer who ordered food and sat quietly," Vincent said. "You threw him out because he's homeless. You humiliated him publicly." Diego's face reddened. "Look, Vincent, I run a business," he said. "I have to think about my reputation. People like him drive away normal customers." "People like him," Vincent repeated slowly. Diego seemed to realize his mistake. "I didn't mean it like that," he said quickly. "I just meant, the optics. This is a family place. We have standards." Vincent stood up. "Let me tell you about standards, Diego," he said. His voice was quiet but sharp. "I've invested $50,000 in this restaurant. I own this building. I've supported your business for 3 years. And in that time, I've watched you cut corners, ignore health codes, treat your staff poorly. I've given you chances to improve. But treating a paying customer like garbage because of his appearance? That crosses a line." Diego's face went from red to white. "Vincent, I can explain," he said. "Let me make it right. I'll apologize to him. I'll give him a free meal." Vincent shook his head. "Too late for that," he said. "I'm conducting a full audit of your business. Books, inventory, staffing, everything. If I find what I suspect I'll find, our partnership is over. You'll be evicted and I'll sue for my investment back." What I didn't know was that Diego had been stealing from Vincent for over a year. Diego stood up fast. "You can't do that," he said. Vincent smiled coldly. "Read your lease agreement," he said. "I absolutely can." He turned to me. "Marcus, let's go." We walked out of the office. Diego followed, pleading. "Vincent, please, let's talk about this. Can't we work something out?" Vincent ignored him and pushed through the restaurant toward the door. Every customer watched in silence. Maria stood frozen by the kitchen. Outside on the sidewalk, Vincent stopped and took a deep breath. "I apologize you had to see that," he said to me. "But I meant what I said. I'm going to audit his business, and I'd like to hire you to help me." "Me," I said. "Why?" "Because you know restaurants," Vincent said. "You'll spot things my accountants might miss. I'll pay you $200 a day plus meals. The audit will take about a week. After that, if you're interested, I want you to consult on my new restaurant project. Salary negotiable, but fair. What do you say?" I looked back at Rosa's kitchen. Diego stood in the window watching us, his face twisted with anger and fear. I looked at Vincent. "When do we start?" I asked. "Tomorrow morning," Vincent said. "Meet me here at 9 a.m. Wear whatever you have. Don't worry about appearance. We're going to tear that place apart and find out what Diego's really been doing. Then, we're going to make him pay for every corner he's cut and every person he's mistreated." I felt something cold and satisfying settle in my chest. It wasn't the angry, hot revenge I might have wanted 2 hours ago. It was something better. Something that would last. "Okay," I said. "I'll be here." Vincent smiled and shook my hand. "This is the beginning of something good, Marcus," he said. "Trust me." I watched him drive away. Then I turned and looked at Rosa's kitchen one more time. Diego was still in the window, talking frantically on his phone. I smiled. Tomorrow his whole world was going to collapse, and I was going to help make it happen. The next morning, I woke up before dawn in Riverside Park. I'd barely slept. my mind racing with what was about to happen. I washed my face in the park fountain and put on my cleanest shirt. At 8:45, I walked to Rose's kitchen. Vincent was already there, leaning against his Mercedes. He smiled when he saw me. "Ready to do some detective work?" he asked. I nodded. He handed me a coffee in a paper cup. "Thought you might need this," he said. It was still hot, tasted expensive. We walked to the restaurant together. Diego was waiting inside, arms crossed. His smile was forced. "Vincent, good morning," he said. "Shall we get this over with?" Vincent pulled out a folder. "This is Marcus Chen, my restaurant consultant," he said. "He'll be conducting the audit with my accounting team. They're arriving shortly." Diego's smile vanished. "Him," he said. "You're letting him audit my business?" Vincent's expression was cold. "Yes, him," he said. "He's an expert. You have a problem with that?" Diego opened his mouth, then closed it. "Fine," he muttered. "But I'm watching everything." "Good," Vincent said. "We want witnesses." Two accountants arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. Professional women in business suits carrying laptops and file boxes. Vincent introduced them as Sarah and Monica from Chen Holdings. They got straight to work. Sarah requested all financial records for the past 3 years. Receipts, invoices, bank statements, payroll records, tax documents, everything. Diego reluctantly led them to his office. Monica sat up at a table in the main dining area with spreadsheets. Vincent pulled me aside. "I want you to focus on the kitchen and operations," he said quietly. "Check inventory, examine their ordering systems, look at food costs versus menu prices. You'll know what's wrong. Trust your instincts." I headed into the kitchen. The morning prep cook, a young guy named Luis, looked nervous. "I'm just doing an inspection," I told him. "Keep working normally, don't worry." The kitchen was small and disorganized. I started with the walk-in refrigerator. Half the produce was past its prime. Wilted lettuce, soft tomatoes, peppers with brown spots. The proteins were worse. Chicken breasts with an off smell, ground beef that was grayish. I checked dates on everything. Most items were 3 to 5 days past their use-by dates. Criminal negligence for a restaurant. I took photos with a disposable camera Vincent had given me. Next, I checked the dry storage. Here's where things got interesting. The shelves were stocked with institutional-sized cans and packages, but the invoices taped to the boxes showed retail prices, not wholesale. Someone was buying cheap bulk products, but billing Vincent's investment account as if they were purchasing premium ingredients. The markup was massive. A 50-pound bag of pasta that cost $20 retail was invoiced at $60. Tomato sauce that cost $15 was billed at $45. Every single item showed this pattern. I found Luis in the prep area chopping onions. "How long have you worked here?" I asked him. 2 years, he said quietly. "Can I ask you something off the record?" I said. He glanced toward the office where Diego was arguing with the accountants. "What do you want to know?" he asked. "Where does Diego actually buy the food?" I asked. "Not what the invoices say. Where does it really come from?" Luis hesitated. "I could lose my job," he said. "You're going to lose it anyway if this place goes under," I said gently. "Tell me the truth." He put down his knife. "There's a cash and carry warehouse on the east side," he said. "Diego goes there twice a week. Buys everything cheap, no receipts usually. Then he creates fake invoices from fancy suppliers and charges the investment account. He pockets the difference, has been for at least a year. How much difference are we talking about?" I asked. Luis shrugged. "Thousands a month probably," he said. "Maybe more." I thanked him and went back to Vincent. Those who experience such moments never forget the feeling of uncovering buried truth. Vincent was in the office with Sarah. "I need to show you something," I said. We went to the kitchen and I walked him through everything I'd found. The expired food, the fake invoices, the markup scheme. Vincent's face grew darker with each revelation. "Sarah," he called out, "come document all of this." She spent the next hour photographing everything, matching invoices to actual products, calculating the discrepancies. Meanwhile, Monica had found something in the financial records. She called Vincent over to her laptop. "Look at this," she said. I stood behind them. She pointed to a spreadsheet showing payroll expenses. "Diego claims he has 8 employees," she said, "but only 4 people are actually receiving paychecks through the official system. The other 4 are ghost employees. He's been paying himself their salaries." Vincent's jaw clenched. "How much?" he asked. Monica tapped her calculator. "Over the past 2 years, approximately $80,000, she said, plus the food markup scheme Marcus found. That's probably another $60,000. Total theft of around $140,000. Vincent stood up slowly. His face was calm, but his hands were shaking with controlled rage. "Where's Diego?" he asked. "Still in his office," Sarah said. "Let's go have a chat," Vincent said. His voice was ice. I followed him to the office. Diego sat behind his desk trying to look confident. "So," he said, "find anything interesting?" Vincent placed a folder on the desk. It landed with a heavy thump. "We found everything," Vincent said quietly. "The fake invoices, the expired food, the ghost employees, the stolen investment money. $140,000, Diego. You've been stealing from me for over 2 years. Diego's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. "Those are legitimate business expenses." Vincent opened the folder and pulled out photos. "This is a can of tomato sauce you claim cost $45 from an artisan supplier," he said. "Marcus found it in your kitchen. It's a generic brand from a discount warehouse. Cost you maybe $12. You billed me $45 and kept the difference. Want to explain that?" Diego looked at the photo, then at me. His expression shifted from fear to fury. "You," he spat. "You did this. You came in here to destroy me because I kicked you out. This is revenge." Vincent slammed his hand on the desk. "Don't you dare blame Marcus," he said. "You did this to yourself. You stole from me. You endangered customers with spoiled food. You committed fraud. I'm calling the police right now." Diego stood up fast. "Wait," he said desperately. "Vincent, please, I can pay you back. Give me time. I'll fix everything. Just don't call the police." Vincent pulled out his phone. "It's too late for that," he said. "You had 2 years to be honest. Instead, you stole and lied." He dialed a number. I watched Diego's face collapse. The bluster and anger drained away, replaced by panic and desperation. He looked at me. "Please," he said. "Tell him to stop. Tell him you forgive me. I'll apologize properly. I'll give you money." I met his eyes. "You didn't just kick me out," I said quietly. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. You treated me like I was nothing because of how I looked, and all along you were the real criminal. You were stealing, serving rotten food, lying to everyone. So no, I don't forgive you, and I'm not stopping anything." Diego sank back into his chair. Vincent spoke into his phone. "Yes, I need to report a theft and fraud case," he said. He gave the address and details. The police arrived 20 minutes later. 2 officers took statements from Vincent, from me, from Sarah and Monica. They reviewed the evidence, looked at the fake invoices, examined the spoiled food in the kitchen. One officer shook his head. "This is serious," he told Diego. "You're looking at fraud charges, theft, possibly health code violations." Diego said nothing. His hands were cuffed and he was led out to the police car. Maria and Luis watched from the kitchen doorway. Maria was crying. I walked over to them. "What happens to us now?" Luis asked. Vincent overheard. "You're both hired," he said. "I'm taking over this location temporarily. I need honest staff. If you want to stay and work for me, you've got jobs." Their faces showed relief. But what I didn't know was that Vincent had even bigger plans. The police investigation took 3 weeks. Detectives found even more evidence of Diego's theft: hidden bank accounts, falsified tax returns, bribes to health inspectors. The charges piled up: fraud, embezzlement, tax evasion, endangering public health. Diego's lawyer tried to negotiate, but Vincent refused any deals. He wanted full prosecution and restitution. Meanwhile, Vincent hired me officially as a restaurant consultant, $200 a day like he'd promised. Plus, he helped me get a room at an extended stay hotel. Nothing fancy, but it had a bed and a shower, and I could lock the door. It felt like a palace. I worked at Rose's kitchen every day, helping Vincent transform it. We threw out all the old inventory and started fresh with quality ingredients. I rewrote the menu, trained the cooks properly, established real systems. Vincent invested another $30,000 to renovate the dining room. New paint, better lighting, comfortable chairs. Within 2 weeks of reopening under new management, business doubled. Within a month, it tripled. Vincent and I met for coffee one morning in early June. "You've done incredible work here," he said. "This place is thriving." "Thank you," I said. "I'm just doing what I know." He smiled. "That's exactly my point," he said. "You know restaurants, you know food, you know quality, which brings me to my real project." He pulled out architectural drawings. "This is the new restaurant I'm opening downtown," he said. "High-end Italian, seasonal menu, chef-driven concept. I want you to be the head consultant. Menu development, kitchen design, staff training, everything. And when we open, I want you to be the executive chef." I stared at the drawings. "Me?" I asked. "I'm homeless, I'm a drunk. I lost my license years ago." "Were," Vincent corrected. "You were homeless, past tense. You've been sober for 3 months. You've proven yourself reliable and talented. I'm offering you a second chance, Marcus. Take it." I looked at his face. He was serious. "How much does it pay?" I asked. $60,000 a year to start as consultant," he said. "When we open in your executive chef, $85,000 plus profit sharing, full benefits, health insurance, paid time off. This is a real job with a real future." I felt tears in my eyes, but I didn't care anymore. "When do I start?" I asked. He grinned. "You already started," he said. "Welcome aboard. We spent the next 4 months planning the restaurant. I threw myself into the work completely, designing the kitchen layout, testing recipes, sourcing suppliers, interviewing cooks. Vincent gave me creative freedom and backed every decision." In September, Diego's trial concluded. He was convicted on 8 counts of fraud and theft, sentenced to 4 years in prison, and ordered to pay Vincent full restitution of $140,000 plus damages. Total judgment was $210,000. Diego lost everything: his restaurant, his reputation, his freedom. I attended the sentencing. Diego looked broken, 20 pounds lighter, hollow eyes. When the judge announced the verdict, he didn't react, just stared at the table. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked at me one last time. I didn't gloat or smile. I just looked back calmly. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about justice, about consequences, about the fact that how you treat people matters. He'd treated me like garbage, and it had cost him everything. Not because I destroyed him, but because his own crimes caught up with him. I just helped shine a light on the truth. Outside the courthouse, Vincent shook my hand. "It's over," he said. "Justice served. Now let's focus on building something good. Our restaurant opens in 2 weeks. You ready?" "I'm ready," I said. And I meant it. The restaurant opened in November. We called it Meridian West, a subtle nod to my past. Opening night was packed. Food critics, investors, Vincent's business partners, all there to see what we'd created. I stood in the kitchen in a clean white chef's coat with my name embroidered on it. My team moved around me efficiently, plating dishes with precision. Each plate that left my kitchen was perfect. Fresh pasta made that morning, sauces built from scratch, locally sourced vegetables prepared with care. This was the food I'd always wanted to make. Through the service window, I watched the dining room. People smiled, laughed, savored each bite. Vincent caught my eye and gave me a thumbs up. We did it, I thought. We actually did it. By the end of the night, the critics were calling it the best new restaurant in the city. Reviews came out praising the authenticity, the technique, the passion in every dish. This story reminds us that how we treat people reveals who we really are. Diego judged me by my appearance and treated me with cruelty, but his real character was far worse than anything he accused me of being. Vincent saw past my circumstances and recognized my value. He gave me a chance when I had nothing, and that chance let me reclaim my life and my purpose. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about becoming so successful that their cruelty becomes irrelevant. Diego lost everything because of his own crimes. I gained everything because someone believed I still had worth. What lesson did you gain from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.